Hello friends, my name's Emile, and welcome to another episode of Reach the Peak. Today, I'm doing another special. So previously, I've done a wheel spin special where whatever cars I use were in the hands of the Horizon wheel spins. Today, we are going to be doing an auction house special where I'm going to use whatever cars I can find on the auction house. Now, I should preface this by saying I'm not going to buy these cars out. What I'm going to do is essentially look at the cars, choose the cars from my garage, and then use those because I already have most of these cars, and I don't have very much money because I bought a Shelby Cobra. So there you go. Anyways, let us do this now. Okay, confirm, and let's see what we get. So I'm going to use whatever is the 7th car in the list. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The Rolls-Royce Wraith. Okay, sure. That is our first car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've already used that car, so we'll go for whatever's underneath it. The 2009 Ford Focus RS. Alright, interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Car number 3 is the Pontiac GTO Judge. So, pretty cool. I do like the Judge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 2008 Ferrari California. Okay, that is car number 4. And hoping for something good for our final car. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've already used that car, so we'll go for whatever's underneath it. We've already used that car, so we'll go for whatever's underneath that. Okay, 2001 Acura Integra. I was not expecting that. So, there we go. That is our 5 cars for this. So, let me put snow tires on them, and then I will meet you up the hill. Okay, so we have the cars, we have the hill, let's do this. The first car of today is of course the 2014 Rolls-Royce Wraith. 624 horsepower, 590 foot-pound of torque, 5,380 pounds of weight. This is an S1 class car, 828 in PI, when equipped with the snow tyres. It is the most powerful vehicle here today, the torquiest vehicle here today, and the heaviest vehicle here today, unsurprisingly of course. So the Rolls-Royce Wraith, it's starting to grow on me. I'm not really a huge Rolls-Royce guy. I've never been a fan of like the Phantom and the Silver Shadow and all the rest of it. But, you know, the Wraith is a pretty decent car in my opinion. And the Dawn as well is also pretty cool. I quite like them. The Wraith comes in a lot of strange and interesting colours. This black and purple combination, I really like it in fact. This sort of two-tone effect. Anyways, of course, the biggest question when it comes to a Rolls-Royce in Forza is actually how does it drive? And the answer to that is it's decent despite the weight of it. You know, on paper this thing, when you actually look at it, is kind of similar to a very big muscle car, you know. It's kind of similar to, say, a Charger Hellcat. Granted, it weighs 1,000 pounds more and it has a bit less power, but, you know, statistically it is a little bit muscle car, you know, front engine, rear drive, a lot of power. And it is decent, you know, it does kind of drive a little bit like those cars do. The interesting thing with the Rolls-Royce Wraith is it has, 624 horsepower, and it weighs a lot. You'd expect that to play havoc on the snow, but I actually think after driving this car, the weight of this vehicle does actually help it out. In sort of keeping that power sort of secured, if you will. You know, it is kind of weird to describe. I guess the best thing would be for you to actually drive it, experience it for yourself, and see what you think of it. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it. Personally, I think the weight does help out with the Rolls-Royce Wraith. You know, it's not like the Charger Hellcat where it's constantly spinning its wheels. This thing's actually relatively composed. For what it is. So yeah, a pretty surprising car to kick us off. Next up, we have the 2009 Ford Focus RS, 300 horsepower, 318 foot-pound of torque, 3,236 pounds of weight. This is an A-class car, 750 PI when equipped with the snow tyres. This is one of 2 front-wheel drive cars that we have here today. The 2009 Ford Focus RS is a car that I very much like, and I think most people who enjoy hot hatches like the Focus RS. If I'm being perfectly honest, I actually prefer this over the modern Focus RS. You know, I love that green paint, I love how silly this thing looks, I love the 5-cylinder Volvo engine that makes a really rather good noise. It is a very cool car in Focus RS, and I do like the Ford Focus in general, to be fair. As far as this car goes, driving-wise, it is really rather good. You know, as far as cars we should really be comparing this to, we've had the Astra VXR, the Ford Focus ST has taken to this course as well. You know, they're very sort of similar, you know, super hot hatch, front-wheel drives, lots of power, so on and so forth. And I personally think this does drive better than an Astra VXR by far. The handling is better than it would be on an Astra VXR. Which sounds kind of strange, you know, because this thing does have more power and it is older. You know, not by much. It's only like 3 years older, but it's still older. But it does handle its power a lot better than that car, I think. You know, it does understeer a fair bit through the corners. You can certainly make it understeer, and it will. But it's not enough to catch you out or anything. It is a pretty predictable understeer. You know relatively what this car's going to do when you chuck it into a corner, which is always nice. You know, I do like having that predictability with a car. So yeah, you know, unsurprisingly, the Focus RS is a good vehicle. Fit this thing with rally shocks, rally suspension and tyres, and so on and so forth. You could probably get a half decent front wheel drive rally car out of this. As far as, you know, those front-wheel drive rally cars go, this is probably one of the better choices. Just don't put any more power into it. It doesn't need any more. It's still a relatively quick car for a Focus, and you really don't want to put any more than 300 horsepower through the front wheels of a front-wheel drive car. Unless you're Honda, of course. Anyways, next up we have the 1969 Pontiac GTO Judge. 365 horsepower, 445 foot-pound of torque, 3,623 pounds of weight. I am a fan of the GTO Judge. It is a pretty cool vehicle. It has that sort of rev counter mounted in the bonnet, which I love. I believe the AMC Rebel has also got that. Don't quote me on this. I don't know if the Rebel and this are slightly related, although it wouldn't surprise me if they happen to be. Yeah, the GTO Judge is a cool car. It looks great. It is one of my more favourable of the American muscle cars. Now, while I may like it on a real life basis, in the game, it is a bit disappointing. This is not the best muscle car to drive. You know, when we're saying about muscle cars, you know, it doesn't have a whole lot of power. You know, most muscle cars are running 80 more horsepower than this, thanks to Hemi engines. This is stuck with 365 horsepower. Granted, the torque figure is very, very good indeed. You know, 445 foot-pound of torque. But honestly, it doesn't help it. It really just, all that torque does is push the rear wheels into the ground, spin them up, and just make noise. It doesn't really make the car go any quicker, and it, you know, makes it slip more through corners. It doesn't corner very well. It feels very, very heavy through the corners. It isn't actually that heavy for a muscle car. It's only 3,600 pounds, but it feels very boat-like, very heavy. It's not a good car. It is not a good car, is the GTO Judge, which is a bit of a shame to say. Now, I'm not sure how these things cope in street tunes. You know, I haven't really tuned one of these up and tried it for road racing, but it's just not good. If you're going to take a car, sort of a muscle car, off-roading, or particularly up Blizzard Mountain, I would much rather recommend to you, say, a Dodge Charger, a Daytona, a Dart, a Corvette C3. You know, just one of those is a lot better than this here Pontiac. You know, they're more powerful, and they've just got so much more potential than the Judge. So yeah, unfortunately it is not good marks for the GTO Judge, which is a bit of a shame because I do quite like Pontiac. Anyways, next up we have a car which is an appropriate colour for this hill climb course. We have the 2008 Ferrari California. 453 horsepower, 357 foot-pound of torque, 3,825 pounds of weight. It is the highest in PI car here today. It is S1831. I forgot to mention for the GTO Judge, it is an A-class car, 707 in PI. Just thought I'd mention that there. Anyways, the California, not one of my favourite Ferraris of all time, gotta be honest. You know, front engine, V8, rear-wheel drive, isn't my sort of thing. It really is not a very good looking car at all, in my opinion. The California T is a hell of a lot better looking than this is. This thing's just kind of fat and ugly. It's not a good looking car. Yeah, and I'm not a huge fan of convertibles to begin with, even, cars I like the F-Type and the Vanquish, I don't like those in convertible mode, so, yeah, the California isn't my sort of car. As far as it is to drive, it's fine. I've driven worse than this. It does feel a little bit heavy, that's because it is heavy, it's 3,800 pounds. Which is a lot, this would be the heaviest car if the Rolls-Royce Wraith wasn't here. So, yeah, the Ferrari is quite the heavy automobile, but, yeah, it's fine. It's unoffensive. It drives like a normal GT car would up here, it is, front engine to rear drive, can slip through the corners. It's nothing special, or at least it doesn't feel like it to drive. It's relatively quick for what it is, 454 horsepower, this thing does accelerate pretty well. I will give it that, but it's just pretty indescript, to be honest with you. It just drives like a car. For me personally, I would much rather take the California T over the normal California. I'm not too sure what the price difference is on it, but I would recommend the California T to you if you want a Ferrari. If you don't know, go for a Vanquish, V12 Vantage, they're all better cars than this California is, to be completely honest. Finally today we have the last front-wheel drive car because, well, it's the last car of the day. It's the 2001 Acura Integra Type R, 195 horsepower, 130 foot-pound of torque, 2,629 pounds of weight. It's an A-class car, 701 MPI. When equipped with the snow tyres, it is the least powerful vehicle here today, the least torquey vehicle here today, the lightest vehicle here today, and the lowest in PI, only just being an A-class car. Just. Anyways, the Acura Integra. Not one of my favourite cars, the Honda Integra. I much prefer the DC5 generation. I know a lot of people sort of like this older generation of Integra, and I'm starting to come around onto them a little bit more. I much prefer the 4-door. The 4-door is actually a really cool looking car. But sort of the 2-door coupe isn't really anything I'm particularly into. I'd much rather have the Civic. The Civic is a smaller car, easier to drive, and weighs less. So, yeah, that's what I would personally go with. Even the Civic Si Coupe, I think, is a better car than this, but that's more just sort of a looks preference because this has more power than that. Anyways, as far as it is to drive, it's alright. It's, it's another one of those cars where it's okay. The long gears do not help this car because it's a VTEC motor. Obviously, there is not a lot of torque, and you don't really hit the red line too often because the gears on this car are strangely long. Also, ignore that sort of small corner cut. This wasn't the fastest time that I got with the car. This was just the last run I did with it. It was going to be a pretty good run if I didn't do that. But yeah, you can sort of see this vehicle does understeer a fair amount. If you sort of plant the throttle, it will go off. It has got a bit of a bad differential, in all fairness to it. I've driven the EK9 Civic up here. I would much rather take that over the Integra. Granted, the EK9 was run ages and ages and ages ago. I could get a much quicker time with the EK9 now, but that's a story for another day. We might have to do some reruns at some point. But yeah, it's just not a good car. The Integra, it just isn't a good car in my personal opinion. So I would avoid it. I would go for the Civic. I would go for there's loads of choice in the front wheel drive class, and I would much rather have one of those cars. On to the times, and unsurprisingly, it is the Ferrari California that's the fastest car today. What is surprising, however, is how far up the leaderboard it is. It goes into 54th place with a 2:10.864. That's incredible. It beats an Aston Martin Vanquish by 0.6 of a second, beats a McLaren P1, beats a 911 GT2. I don't know how it did that. I don't. Moving down the board some more, in 71st place we find the Rolls-Royce Wraith with a 2:13.600, which is a very respectable time, beats a Charger Hellcat, beats an Impreza's. A little bit slower than a GT350R and a Dodge Dart. Very good time from that car, especially considering it is basically a yacht. Moving down some more, the Ford Focus RS goes into 93rd with 2:16.602, beats an Impreza 22B by 1,000th of a second, beats an Evo 9, an E92 M3, misses out on a Civic Type R, which is probably the closest thing to this car, by 0.4 of a second. But considering the 7-year age gap in there, that is really very, very good for that car. The Acura Integra Type R does a lot better than I expected it to, goes into 157th place with a 224.378. It is a little bit quicker than a Silvia S15 and a Jaguar XJS. It does lose out slightly to a Lancia Stratos and a Ford Falcon EB, but pretty good time considering I was not expecting anything great out of that car. And the slowest car today, unfortunately, it is the GTO Judge. 165th place, it's found in 225.479, 0.2 seconds slower than a Polaris, but it is quicker than the Chevrolet Impala, which I guess isn't really saying much. It's also quicker than an RX-7 FC, which is pretty decent going. Anyways, friends, I want to thank you all very much for watching this episode of Reach the Peak, and until next time, a farewell.